In the Back of the Book segment tonight, Indiana Democratic Congressman Andre Carson, who is Muslim, thinks he has figured out a way perhaps to solve the education crisis in this country. According to the congressman, America should model its schools after madrasas, Islamic religious schools.
America will never tap into educational innovation and ingenuity without looking at the model that we have in our madrasas, in our schools, where innovation is encouraged, where the foundation is the Quran. And that model that we are pushing in some of our schools meets the multiple needs of students. America must understand that she needs Muslims. There are over 7 million Muslims in this country, and while we are under attack, we cannot retreat.
It should be noted that many of the Taliban were educated in madrasas in Pakistan, of course, hotbeds of recruiting for terrorism around the world, and complaints we've seen even in our own country. And Congressman Carson declined our invitation to appear this evening, but sent us a statement that says in part, "While I do not believe that any particular faith should be the foundation of our public schools, it is important that we take note of the instructional tools these schools utilize to empower their young people." That's not too controversial. Joining us now from Portland, Oregon is Zafar. He's the national spokesperson for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community. Mr. Zafar, it's good to see you. I think when people hear these comments from Congressman Carson, while his clarification or his statement to us doesn't seem too controversial, they remember some of the more inflammatory things Congressman Carson has said in the past about, for instance, the Tea Party movement, equating it to, wanting to bring back Jim Crow laws, or saying that, some Tea Party members would like to see blacks hanging from trees. I mean, really, just completely off-the-wall comments. So they hear this kind of stuff about madrasas, and the next thing people think is, okay, we want to radicalize young men in the United States to become, Islamists. What's your reaction to this little tempest in a teapot here?
Well, as you know, Laura, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is a leading proponent of the separation of religion and state, including public schools. And we met with the Congressman Carson last week at a special bipartisan event on Capitol Hill to honor the arrival of our international Khalifa, or spiritual leader of our community. He was one of over 30 members of Congress there. And based on our interactions with the Congressman, I believe his views are consistent with ours. I don't think it's fair to say that he's advocating for some sort of Taliban-style education in America. I understand his comments to mean that the education system in America can benefit from the experience and the curricula of American Muslim schools, as well as the emphasis on education and rationality and pluralism found in the Quran. So that statement in and of itself is not controversial, especially because, as you know, we have religiously based schools all over America, and they all have many positive facets. Now, if I may, what I think is part of the confusion here is the use of the word madrasa. But that Arabic word only means school. In fact, it has Semitic origin from the Hebrew word midrash, and it has no sorts of implication of a religious affiliation or a political affiliation. So I think his clarification from his statement is fair, that he's not advocating for an imposition of Islam in our education system. It's just that we can learn from different schools, whether it's Muslim, Jewish, Christian, alike. We can all learn from the innovation and bring it to our system.
I think, and he himself was the product of, I think, Catholic education as well as other schools. So he has kind of an interesting background. But I think what people might say is, okay, if an evangelical Christian who was a congressman got up there and said something like this, he would be excoriated, or she, by the left. It would say separation of church and state. How dare you say that, we should make this a model for our school system, keep God out of the schools. And I think that would be part of the response there. They'd like, separate it out. And I mean, I actually think religious-based education has a lot of values. I do get worried. Places like Alexandria, Virginia, I know you remember that controversy from some years ago. They had to remove very hateful things from the curriculum. And this Saudi-funded, I think it was called the Islamic Saudi Academy. A lot of hateful things in that curricula that were really shocking to people. That's what people are afraid of.
Yeah, I think the underlying theme is that religious schools, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, or others for that matter, have seen some notable successes in their system. And I think it's important for us to study their successes and bring some into our public school system. I mean, as an American parent myself, whose children will likely attend the public school system, I have a vested interest in our public school system being as effective and strong as possible. And I think there are things we can learn from Muslim education system, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, even atheists, and with bringing all the best for our own system.
All right, Mr.